So you are considered one of the leading figures in homeopathy with a strong background in teaching worldwide. So in addition to being a lecturer here at the Canadian College of Homeopathic Medicine, you previously ran a 4-year homeopathy program at the Hahnemann Academy in Japan. And you've also taught at many other institutes and schools in both North America and internationally, and have been practicing for over 26 years. So what brought you to homeopathy?
That's an interesting question. You know, I was the director of a nutrition program in Northern California at a place called Hartwood Institute. And I was looking for a way to help my patients. You know, you can help people who've got health problems with nutrition, provided that the problem is the result of some type of nutritional deficiency or nutritional imbalance. But oftentimes it's not that, and you need some other type of therapeutic modality. And so I was in a health food store in Northern California, and I saw this book about homeopathy, and I picked it up, and on the back was a quote by Mahatma Gandhi. It's a very famous quote where he says that homeopathy is the most effective, most powerful, most cost economic system of medicine in the world. And that quote really struck my attention, because Gandhi had very much wanted the Indian people to have pride in their own accomplishments. And in India, there's this system of medicine called Ayurveda, which is over 3, 4, 5,000 years old. And somehow Gandhi is recommending homeopathy over Ayurveda. I said, there must be something to this.
I didn't know that.
And so it's pretty amazing, isn't it? And so I brought that book home and I read it that night, and I had patients already to work with because I was a nutritionist. I was the director of nutrition there, and I began to prescribe remedies almost immediately. And then I had a very interesting personal story that really cemented for me the value of homeopathy, which is that I was reading a book about homeopathy, and I was reading about a remedy, and the remedy seemed to fit my mom really well. And so I decided to give her a dose of this remedy, and she went from this very bitter, angry, impossible human being, somebody who was unwilling to. I mean, as I remember as a child, she wouldn't talk to me for 6 months at a time if she thought I had done something wrong. And the remedy was a remedy called nitric acid, and so I decided to give her some, and I gave her some nitric acid, and she went from this bitter, angry, negative, impossible human being to somebody who was literally singing and dancing around the house. And I remember my dad coming up to me and saying, I don't know what you've done, but from now on, I support you 100%. And the transformation was so profound, even to this day. I mean, my parents were about to get divorced prior to taking the remedy, and after the remedy, she became like a new person. They never got divorced. I worked with my dad with his prostatitis, and that went away. And so it was just, I saw all these miracles and life transformations. And so I realized it was my life path, and I've never looked back. I mean, it's just been such a godsend in so many different ways. It's such a service to humanity to be able to practice this wonderful science and art, and to help people really fulfill their full potential.
Was it popular back when you were in
It was less popular than it is today. I mean, this is back in 1987. So, it was quite a while ago. There was a renewed interest in homeopathy based on the work of George Fatulkas at the time, but nowhere the way it is now. Now you can see, especially in Ontario, with the whole process of regulation happening, there's really so much greater interest in it, and also good quality education like you have here at the Canadian College and other institutions. It's just it's really making a real surge.
That's good.
Yeah, it's really very good. Yeah.
What are some of the successes that you've had over your career?
Oh boy, there's been so many. I mean, like for example, the one with my mom, that was a pretty profound one. I also had great results with my daughter. My daughter had always been very, very shy, very reserved, and finally realized the remedy that I wanted to give her was a remedy called Burrita carbonica, and which has a very shy, very timid, very reserved, very fearful of strangers type of personality. And I gave her a dose, and she completely transformed. And I remember, she's not a very good singer, like me. I'm not a particularly good singer, but she got up in front of her auditorium, in front of all of her classmates, and she belted out this song. It sounded terrible, but everyone was like in shock, because how could this shy, reserved young woman get in front of the 300 people and belt out the song with no intimidation? And I remember afterwards, all of her friends' parents were calling me saying, can you treat my kids, because whatever you've done to your daughter is just miraculous. So I love those types of stories, because homeopathy can treat your colds and your flus and your even very serious diseases. I mean, I've seen it help people with Parkinson's disease or multiple sclerosis, very serious health problems. But it can also profoundly and dramatically transform a person's life on all levels.
Yeah,
and that's the power of homeopathy. That's what it can really do for people.
That's what I always tell people. It helps bring out the best version of somebody, which is really good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyone can use that boost. So you recently taught a class here on the history of homeopathy. In preparing for the class, did you learn anything interesting?
Oh, I learned so much. The history of homeopathy is so rich with wonderful stories and little vignettes and incredible personages. I mean, it's just an incredible story. Matter of fact, I've always wondered why Hollywood hasn't picked up the story of Samuel Hahnemann and his second wife, Melanie Hahnemann. It's an incredible love story. I mean, it's something that you think could only happen in someone's dreams, but yet it really did occur. So there's so much richness there. I think one of the things, and it wasn't that I was unaware of this, but it was really cemented for me really fully, was just how successful homeopathy was. You had practitioners like Adolf Lippe, who practiced for 50 years, had an incredibly busy practice, and in 50 years of busy practice, he never lost one cholera, one typhoid, or one malaria patient.
Yeah.
That's amazing. This is during a period of time when the mortality rate of these diseases is 40 or 50 or 60%. He never lost a case. Constantine Hering, another one of our great homeopaths, oftentimes referred to as the father of American homeopathy, he treated over 270 cases of pneumonia, never lost a patient. And again, this was during a period of time when the mortality rate of these types of diseases was very high, 30, 40, 50, 60%. They never lost a case. There was a wonderful book written by Thomas Lindsley Bradford. He's one of the great historians of homeopathy. And in that book, he documents statistically the efficacy of homeopathy in the treatment of all kinds of different diseases. And what he found was that the mortality rate of the homeopaths was between 2 to 3%, whereas the mortality rate of pretty much everybody else, the eclectic physicians, the allopathic physicians, was anywhere between 40 to 60%. So again, we know based on the history of homeopathy that this actually works, that it's very powerful medicine. It's actually what we call nanomedicine based on contemporary research, and it's effective. It actually does what it's supposed to, and I taught at this institute, Heartwood Institute, for many years. I got to see all different types of therapeutic modalities. They all have different value and usefulness, and they can all be used for various different purposes. But there's something very special about homeopathy, and when it comes to treating chronic and acute disease, I think personally, in my opinion, it's really unsurpassed.
Yeah, it's a good thing it's coming back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you're from California, right?
I am from California.
Do you see a difference between like the Ontario market and California, and like how receptive are people to homeopathy?
I think they're very receptive here, especially because now with the movement towards regulation and government recognition, and the ability with this to be able to actually take insurance, it's going to make a very big difference for practitioners. I mean, now people will be able to go and see a homeopath, a qualified registered homeopath in Ontario, and they'll be able to have their insurance pay for it. That's going to have a very big impact on the growth of homeopathy in this province.
Right.
And so I think the future is extremely bright for homeopathy here in Ontario. You've got really good quality education. It's a wonderful system of medicine. All the pieces are there to create a wonderful explosion of growth in this wonderful science and art.
Well, in the next coming years, we'll definitely be seeing that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kim, for coming and talking to us.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you, Beverly.